President Trump gives a blockbuster State of the Union address. Stacey Abrams responds, and Bernie babbles. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. Well, today we're going to go through in detail the State of the Union address, the responses from Bernie Sanders and from Stacey Abrams, and a brief response from Kamala Harris. We're going to go through all of that. Plus, the media are obsessed with Nancy Pelosi clapping because when President Trump gives a good speech, the story is that Nancy Pelosi sat behind him, ruffling through papers and clapping. It was, wow, just the unbelievable clappage of Nancy Pelosi. We'll get to all of that in just 1 second. First, let's remember, I know nobody talks about this today, but, you know, our national debt is really, really large. In 2008, the U.S. national debt was $10 trillion. Today, the debt is $22 trillion. It is rising like a hockey stick. If you don't think we're sitting on a house of cards, you're living with your head in the sand. But since you're listening to my podcast, you are clearly smarter than the average American. So what is your plan? Can you afford another hit to your retirement like the last downturn when the S&P dropped 50%? It's good to hedge against inflation and hedge against uncertainty and instability with a little bit of diversification into precious metals. Gold is a safe haven against uncertainty. My savings plan is diversified, and yours should be as well. The company I trust with precious metal purchases is Birch Gold Group. And right now, thanks to a little-known IRS tax law, you can even move your IRA or eligible 401k into an IRA backed by physical gold and silver, which is perfect for folks who want to protect their hard-earned retirement savings from any future geopolitical uncertainty. If it's something that you're looking to, if you're looking to hedge against inflation, then gold safeguard savings. I mean, it's just a well-known thing. Birch Gold Group has thousands of satisfied customers, countless 5-star reviews, A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Contact Birch Gold Group right now. Get a free information kit on physical precious metals. See if diversifying into gold and silver makes sense for you. Ask all your questions. Get that comprehensive 16-page kit. Find out how you can legally move your IRA or 401k out of stocks and bonds into a precious metals IRA if that's something you're interested in. To get that no-cost, no-obligation kit, text BEN to 474747. Again, text Ben, and that's my name, to 474747. Do that right now. Go check out Birch Gold. Really good folks. Okay, so last night, the president gives a State of the Union address. As you recall from yesterday's show, I was looking forward to the State of the Union address the way that I normally look forward to a root canal. It's just not my thing. I don't like the State of the Union address. I think it's a monarchic, stupid institution. I think it's full of silly theatrics. Last night's was uniquely entertaining for a variety of reasons. The number one reason it was uniquely entertaining is because every State of the Union address, we get the game of who stands up, who sits down, who claps, who cheers, how do people respond? And the Democrats did, I thought, a pretty horrendous job of responding to President Trump's speech. It seems that they had a basic rule, which is that they were not going to clap for anything. And then Nancy Pelosi, in all of her wisdom, might lead them once in a while in clapping. But President Trump successfully made them look silly in what they chose to clap for and what they did not choose to clap for. Meanwhile, he gave what was one of the best speeches of his career. Now, it was delivered with typical Trump sort of half interest because he was reading from a teleprompter. All of his best moments came when he was off teleprompter, when he was sort of riffing with the room or something would happen and then he'd drop a funny line. And what was weird about the entire event is that we live in an extraordinarily politically divided time, but it was kind of a feel-good speech. You came away from the speech thinking, okay, well, that was kind of nice, right? Like everybody seemed to get along and maybe the country isn't in that much trouble, which is what Trump was going for. So let's jump right into President Trump's State of the Union address. The theme of his address was choosing greatness. That was the overarching theme. And his basic idea was that America not only should be great again, but also America has been great in the past. And this is a narrative that Trump is on solid ground in talking about, because there really are two visions of what America is and has been. There's the Republican vision, the conservative vision, which says America was founded on eternal truths and guiding principles. We haven't always lived up to those, but we have always moved toward the better fulfillment of those principles, and we have freed millions of people from slavery and depredation. We have freed billions of people from poverty. In other words, America is a pretty freaking phenomenal place. America is a phenomenal place, and our shortcomings, our attempt to correct those shortcomings is part of that story, right? The fact that we have not always lived up to our best principles and that we have tried to correct ourselves, that's because we are so incredible. Then there's the Democrat vision of the United States, founded in racism, sexism, bigotry, patriarchalism, and we have gradually moved away from that founding toward a better future, but we're not there yet, and America's still kind of a hellhole, and therefore we need to continue fighting to overcome our past. That's sort of the Democratic vision. One is the vision of a people that was founded on good ideas, and we're constantly trying to better ourselves to live up to those ideas. And one is the sort of America was founded in sin, rooted in sin, can never escape that sin. Trump laid out that contrast pretty nicely last night. More than anything, Democrats laid out that contrast when they refused to clap for basically obvious ideas about America. So here's President Trump last night talking about choosing greatness.
We must choose between greatness or gridlock, results or resistance, vision or vengeance, incredible progress or pointless destruction. Tonight, I ask you to choose greatness.
Okay, now it's important to note that this speech was much better written than a lot of his other speeches. So it's pretty obvious Stephen Miller did not write the speech. Stephen Miller's speeches are they're replete with a dark vision of America, a vision of America where it's carnage and chaos. This speech was all about America being pretty awesome, which, as the incumbent president, President Trump needs to make the case for. You can see in the background, if you were watching this, that Nancy Pelosi is ruffling through sheets of paper, which, by the way, is kind of rude. I mean, just if a Republican had done that while President Obama was president, there'd be endless talk about how condescending it was. Nancy Pelosi, however, was deeply condescending last night, and the media cheered it. The media coverage of the State of the Union address, which we will get to in a little while here, was as stupid and nonsensical and partisan and biased as any coverage I've ever seen of the president, which is to say, it was another day in American media. President Trump then started talking about how unemployment rates have dipped to record lows. And again, Democrats refuse to cheer for record low unemployment rates. You would figure that really that's bad optics. And what they'd really want to say is, yes, unemployment rates have dipped to record lows as part of the continuing success of the Obama economy. Right? Just all you have to do, just politically, is say the reason that the economy has continued to boom is because it was already doing well under Obama, and it has continued to do well under President Trump. Not the end of the world, but Democrats couldn't even bring themselves to cheer for low black unemployment rates.
Unemployment has reached the lowest rate in over half a century. African American, Hispanic American, and Asian American unemployment have all reached their lowest levels ever recorded. Unemployment for Americans with disabilities has also reached an all-time low.
Okay, Nancy Pelosi is sitting there not cheering, and there are the Democrats sitting there not standing up, not cheering. So is it a bad thing that people with disabilities are working? Weird. Okay, so the Democrats were refusing to cheer for low unemployment rates. They also definitely refused to cheer for putting sex traffickers out of business, which is a weird look. So President Trump says, now it's time for America to end sex trafficking. It's time for America to end illegal immigration that involves human trafficking. And the Democrats are sitting there like, no, we like human trafficking. Now, obviously, they don't like human trafficking, but they don't want to give President Trump any sort of win here, even if what he's speaking about is a basic principle of being a human. So watch this.
Now is the time for Congress to show the world that America is committed to ending illegal immigration and putting the ruthless coyotes, cartels, drug dealers, and human traffickers out of business.
And then there's Kamala Harris shaking her head. Oh, that's terrible. Putting sex traffickers out of business. Wow. She's a tough prosecutor, you know. She's a tough prosecutor who really cares about crime rates. She's so tough that she shakes her head when we talk about putting sex traffickers out of business, Kamala Harris. What a delight she is. Okay, so the Democrats definitely showing how, Trump should just run endless commercials in 2020 of him saying eminently obvious things and Democrats shaking their heads or refusing to clap. Now, that's a pretty good commercial for him against Kamala Harris. We want to put sex traffickers out of business. And Kamala Harris no, we don't. No, let's not do that. Shaking my head ruefully. Just terrible. And then President Trump got to his illegal immigration pitch, in which he said, correctly, that tolerance for illegal immigration is cruel, because what you actually want is lots of legal immigrants, and illegal immigration comes with severe human cost. Now, this was pretty amazing. Once again, Democrats refuse to acknowledge that he is correct, that people are damaged in transit when they are brought in by coyotes. So here is President Trump speaking about it.
Tolerance for illegal immigration is not compassionate. It is actually very cruel. 1 in 3 women is sexually assaulted on the long journey north. Smugglers use migrant children as human pawns to exploit our laws and gain access to our country.
Now, one of my favorite media fact checks occurred about this line of the speech. So President Trump said 1 in 3 women is sexually assaulted on the long journey north. Statistics suggest that 31% of women are sexually assaulted on the long journey north, which is about 1 in 3, right? I mean, it's pretty close to 1 in 3. So the fact checker said partly true. Partly true. So in other words, 33% is 1 in 3. It was 31%. He said 1 in 3. and they rated it partly true because the fact checkers are so full of it. The fact checkers are just terrible. I mean, the fact checks of the State of the Union address are so absurd. A woman at the New York Times, we'll see later that President Trump suggests that a Jew who was freed from Dachau, a death camp during the Holocaust, saw American soldiers coming from the sky and thought they came from heaven. And a fact checker from the New York Times said, Jews don't believe in heaven. It's like, well, you had one job, guys. We sort of do. We sort of do. And President Trump continued. He talked about walls working. He spent an awful lot of time in the speech talking about illegal immigration. And then his conclusion was walls work, which obviously is his main campaign pitch, because in about a week and a half here, we're going to go into possible second government shutdown or him declaring a national emergency. So here's him making that case.
Simply put, walls work and walls save lives. So let's work together, compromise, and reach a deal that will truly make America safe.
Okay, and the Democrats won't cheer for that. So we have to recap. Democrats will not cheer for making America safe through compromise. Democrats will not cheer for low unemployment for blacks, Hispanics, Asian Americans, and Americans with disabilities. Americans, they will not cheer for ending sex trafficking. What will, you ask yourself, what will Democrats cheer for? What do they like? And it turns out that what Democrats will cheer for is themselves. They love themselves. Just like Jim Acosta loves Jim Acosta, Democrats love themselves and Democrats. It was an appalling display. This was truly appalling. So President Trump talks about high employment among women. And I guess we're not allowed to cheer for black employment or Hispanic employment or Asian employment or disabled people employment. We are able to cheer only for people with vaginas employment. Although maybe that's overstated because some men are women, as we've learned. So people who identify as women employment, that we are allowed to cheer for because women are so put upon in American society. Women have it so rough in American society, we say, as we look at the Speaker of the House, who is a woman sitting behind the President of the United States during the State of the Union address. I'm going to play you the self-serving, gross, congratulatory nonsense that the Democrats participated in last night. It made them look particularly bad, and it exposed their vision of America that is false and truly morally off-putting. I mean, I was really off-put by this, and I think a lot of people were. I'll show you in just one second. First, let's talk about the underwear that grace your tuchus at this very moment. If your big Valentine's Day surprise consists of sushi from the grocery store, it's time for you to rethink what a Valentine's Day gift can be with Tommy John, the most comfortable underwear for everyone on the planet. It's a gift that's not only unexpected, but genuinely needed. Tommy John is redefining comfort for men and women with luxuriously soft, feather-light, moisture-wicking underwear that moves with you, not against you. With no pinching, no bunching, no riding up. It's no wonder Tommy John has sold over 6 million pairs. No wedgies either, which would have been super helpful to me in high school. If you're still looking for a Valentine's Day gift, their limited edition loungewear and underwear, including matching his and hers sets, are the perfect alternative to boring and played-out cliche gifts. Last year, the limited edition collection sold out in less than a week, so do not wait until the last minute. And with Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear or its free guarantee, if you don't love that first pair, you get a full refund. So there is no excuse not to buy the gift of comfort they truly deserve. Shop limited edition Valentine's Day gift sets right now. Get 20% off your first order at TommyJohn.com/Ben. That's TommyJohn.com/Ben. Go check it out right now. TommyJohn.com/Ben for 20% off. Only at TommyJohn.com. TommyJohn.com. I know it's great because it is upon my tuchus at this very instant. TommyJohn.com/Ben for 20% off. Okay, so the key moment of the entire night. President Trump has been unable to unify the Democrats and the Republicans about anything. President Trump has been unable to get Democrats to clap for anything up to and including more black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, and people with disabilities working. They will not cheer for anything. But then he stumbles on the one thing Democrats will cheer for, Democrat women will cheer for, these fighters for the underclass. What will they cheer for? Themselves. So here was this self-congratulatory girl power bachelorette party nonsense that happened at the State of the Union address last night.
No one has benefited more from our thriving economy than women, who have filled 58% of the newly created jobs last year. All Americans can be proud that we have more women in the workforce than ever before. And exactly 1 century after Congress passed the constitutional amendment giving women the right to vote, we also have more women serving in Congress than at any time before.
And there they are cheering themselves. Yay, we love us. We're the best. AOC turns around and she actually gives an air high five to no one. Really, that happens. They're cheering, they're dancing, they're so happy about it. They love them. My goodness, the obstacles they've overcome. My goodness, what a place America is because these women were elected. Okay, this is off-putting garbage. The reason it's off-putting garbage is because if we are going to talk about the privileges that people have been given in the United States, it is a privilege to be born a woman in the United States today. America is the freest country in world history, the most upwardly mobile country for women in world history. This notion that women are uniquely put upon in American society is sheer statistical nonsense. It is just not true. And not only is it not true, the absurdity of these women declaring themselves heroes. Look at what we've achieved. Look at what we've done. Because look how much we've had to What has AOC had to overcome? Like a thing. I'm not asking like many things. I'm asking like a thing. She's a 29-year-old bartender with no credentials and no capacity to understand basic economics. She sits in Congress and is extraordinarily famous. What's the obstacle she had to overcome? Why are we cheering this as though this is something unique in American life? As though she is she's breaking a glass ceiling. It's just not true. It's just not true. And it does show the vision that Democrats have for the country. Okay, I want to talk about this in just a second. Democrats see America as a very different place than Republicans see America. So as I say, Republicans see America as a place with eternal truths. Truths like we are all created equal in the eyes of God. Like we all have equal rights. And we have imperfectly applied that rule, but we have moved toward the application of that rule. Women were given the vote more than a century ago. Okay, women have been in politics for a very long time. Women constitute the majority of voters. They constitute the majority of college graduates. They constitute the vast majority of people who gain new jobs in the current economic upsurge. Women have had more wage mobility in the last 30 years than men have in the United States. Women are not victims. And this notion that Democrats are pushing that women have overcome now because lots of women were elected to Congress. Oh, look at us. We are just so awesome. It's so funny. AOC will say that she has cisgender privilege. Because she's a cisgender woman, she has privilege. We all have to acknowledge our privilege. White privilege and male privilege, the privilege of the patriarchy. But nobody in the Democratic Party will acknowledge the greatest privilege of all, which is that they stand on the shoulders of people who actually made sacrifices, people who actually had to overcome, people who actually were part of the American story, making America better. Sitting around and championing yourselves as overcoming some sort of victimhood when you've experienced no victimhood is a mark of ingratitude and nastiness. There are people in that room who had to live through the civil rights movement and actually did heroic work. I'm talking about people with whom I disagree harshly on politics, people like John Lewis, who actually had to live through the civil rights movement and were deeply influential in helping make the country a better place. Those people, if you say John Lewis sits in American Congress, that's something to cheer about. AOC sits in American Congress. Oh, let's cheer because women are in Congress now. I'm sorry. There was nothing that was overcome here. Nothing. There was no barrier to entry for women in Congress. There is nothing uniquely amazing about what just happened in the last election. I know we're supposed to pretend that women broke through a glass ceiling. There was no glass ceiling in American politics. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote in the last election cycle. She was Secretary of State. Condoleezza Rice was Secretary of State. Sarah Palin ran for Vice President. Nancy Pelosi, this is not her first round as Speaker of the House. She was Speaker of the House 12 years ago. Can we stop pretending now that women are massively victimized in American society by the patriarchal hierarchy? And that the only thing worthy of cheering is these Democrats cheering themselves? It shows an utter, incredible ingratitude. President Trump spent a lot of his speech last night, we'll get to it, paying homage to the heroes of the past who actually had to overcome obstacles. The people who stormed the beaches of Normandy, the civil rights workers who had to be attacked by dogs in order to try and gain the capacity to even vote under the law. Those are heroes. Those are people you cheer. You don't cheer yourself just because you're a woman and you happen to be in Congress because you won 15,000 votes in a primary against Joe Crowley in a majority minority district. It doesn't wash. And not only that, it promotes this vicious idea that America is still a place filled with boundaries that must be overcome, particularly for women. And that is it's just nonsense, and it's self-serving nonsense too. It's so arrogant, honestly, to cheer your own achievement when you haven't achieved anything. Or at least if your achievement is not in spite of a great obstacle. Listen, I'm not somebody who's had to overcome a lot of obstacles. I've never said I am. I am grateful to live in a country where I don't have the obstacles of war and discrimination to overcome. I'm deeply grateful for that. My great privilege in the United States is I have two great privileges. One, I grew up with great parents. And two, I grew up in the greatest country in the history of mankind, bar none. Those are my privileges. My privilege is that I grew up on the back of giants, on the shoulders of giants. Nobody in the Democratic Party is willing to acknowledge that. The sacrifices of the past mean nothing because America is still a place filled with obstacles and difficulties, and it's so hard for women in America. It's just not true. It's just not true. Frankly, I'm kind of astonished at the lack of intersectional understanding on the part of these Democratic women. Like, from a left perspective, if you are going to rank victimized groups in the United States, women come in close to last as a victimized group in the United States. If you were going to cheer anything and celebrate anything, presumably you would be celebrating black employment rates. On the intersectional hierarchy, black ranks higher than female. But the only thing these Democrats were getting up and cheering is, oh, we're women and girl power, and wow, we've done something unique. You haven't done anything. I'm sorry, you haven't. Also, there is a very anti-transgender element to all of this, which is, if you believe that gender is a social construct, then why does it matter whether women are elected to Congress or not? If gender is just something that we made up, then why are we cheering for women being elected to Congress? All of this was really off-putting, and it cut against and also it was a smart play by Trump, because now he's got a bunch of women standing and cheering for him. Now, the media tried to unspin this. The media tried to say, well, they were kind of self-mocking Trump. They were trying to mock Trump because most of these women were Democrats. There's an idiotic fact check that said, President Trump said, we have more women serving in Congress than ever before. Fact check. They're all Democrats. Did Trump say they were Republicans? He didn't. Right? All this is an attempt to spin away from a bad optic moment for the Democrats, because, again, Democrats will not stand for low black unemployment rates, but they will stand for we're awesome and we love us, and here we are dancing and doing karaoke night in the middle of Congress. Really off-putting, really honestly, kind of morally despicable. Like patting yourself on the back while failing to, you want to check your privilege, check your privilege. Ladies, check your privilege. You grew up in the freest, richest country in world history, the most free country for women in world history. Check your privilege. Stop pretending that you did it yourself. You didn't build that, as you might say. This was not you. You didn't build it. All your forebears built it. You might want to think about that before you start standing up and cheering for what wonderful things that you've done, when legitimately you've done nothing except run for office and then win. Congratulations. You're just like everybody else in that chamber who ran for office and won. Okay, President Trump continued, and then he got into the red meat section for Republicans. And this is the first time I've ever heard anybody in Republican politics say the correct thing about abortion. Here was the President of the United States going on about abortion, as was appropriate to do. One of the only flaws in this speech, well, we'll get to the bad stuff in the speech in a second, but one of the big flaws in the speech is that a lot of the best material was backloaded. So he started off with this very, very long windup about how great things are in America, how unemployment is low. And this went on for a solid 35 to 40 minutes. And then he finally got to the part where he can throw punches. And the throwing of the punches was obviously the best part. Trump is a hammer. You got to let Trump be a hammer. They did let him do that last night. And when he did it, it was great. We'll get to that in just a moment. First, let's talk about another Valentine's Day gift that you should be considering. Okay, you should certainly be considering 1-800-Flowers.com. This one's a no-brainer. Every time I travel, I send my wife flowers via 1-800-Flowers.com because I am that sort of husband. You too can be that sort of husband when you go to 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, roses from 1-800-Flowers are on sale. If you order early, you can get the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for $29.99, or order it double for 36 stems, Enchanted Roses for $20 more. This is an unbelievable offer from 1-800-Flowers. Again, 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for $29.99, or double the roses for $20 more, which is a spectacular deal. They are amazing roses, really. Roses from 1-800-Flowers. They're picked at their peak. They're shipped overnight to ensure freshness and her amazement. The 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for $29.99, or double to 36 roses for $20 more. It's an amazing offer, but it expires today. You have to do it like right now because they are backlogged. So you need to order this right now to make sure the roses get there on time and you get access to the deal. To order that 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for $29.99, or double the roses for $20 more, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Shapiro. That is 1-800-Flowers.com/Shapiro. Go check it out right now. 1-800-Flowers.com/Shapiro. These things stay fresh longer than the stuff you get at the grocery store. They are high quality. Bouquet prices are going up soon, so you need to take advantage right now at 1-800-Flowers.com/Shapiro. 1-800-Flowers.com/Shapiro. Okay, so then President Trump got to his punch-throwing section of the night, and this was wonderful. Here was President Trump going after the Democrats on abortion.
There could be no greater contrast to the beautiful image of a mother holding her infant child than the chilling displays our nation saw in recent days. Lawmakers in New York cheered with delight upon the passage of legislation that would allow a baby to be ripped from the mother's womb moments from birth. These are living, feeling, beautiful babies who will never get the chance to share their love and their dreams with the world. And then we had the case of the governor of Virginia, where he stated he would execute a baby after birth. To defend the dignity of every person, I am asking Congress to pass legislation to prohibit the late-term abortion of children who can feel pain in a mother's womb. Let us work together to build a culture that cherishes innocent life. And let us reaffirm a fundamental truth. All children, born and unborn, are made in the holy image of God.
Okay, and Democrats sit there, nothing, of course. So lots of cheering for women elected to Congress, no cheering for children are made in the image of God. So I think their priorities are obviously in line. One of the best moments of the night was President Trump going after socialism. So whoever wrote his speech did a great job with this, because there is a fault line in the Democratic Party. Most of the Democrats are fine with the idea of sort of democratic socialism along the lines of Bernie Sanders or AOC. They're fine with it, right? They like a lot of these Medicare for all ideas. They just don't want to admit it publicly. And here is the fault line. A lot of Democrats, who are kind of the older, wiser Democrats, understand Americans instinctively don't like socialism, that Americans think that socialism is replete with economic oppression and tyranny, which of course is true. And so President Trump goes directly after socialism. And you have to notice the variant responses of Nancy Pelosi and AOC and Bernie. So Trump is about to rip into socialism, and Nancy Pelosi sits back there and gives like the soft clap, because she has to demonstrate to people that she is not in favor of socialism. And then there's a slow pan in on Bernie Sanders as the Curb Your Enthusiasm music plays in the background, and it's pretty spectacular.
Here in the United States, we are alarmed by the new calls to adopt socialism in our country. America was founded on liberty and independence, and not government coercion, domination, and control. We are born free, and we will stay free. Tonight, we renew our resolve that America will never be a socialist country.
And there's Nancy Pelosi cheering in the background a little bit, and there's Bernie Sanders looking very trepidatious. I mean, listen, I know Bernie's uncomfortable. He's only comfortable really when he's shirtless singing in the USSR in the 1980s. That's really where Bernie is most comfortable. But Bernie looking very uncomfortable there after a life of uselessness in public life, being told that his dreams may not be achieved. President Trump also went after Iran. He talked about their anti-Semitism. The Democrats refused to cheer for that. The best moment of the night, honestly, the best moment of the night is when the entire Congress sang happy birthday to a Holocaust survivor. What was great about the speech is that it reminded Americans that this is a great country. I mean, not just a good country, a great country, the greatest country in world history. And this was a great moment. It's a Holocaust survivor named Judah Samet. He survived the Tree of Life massacre this year. And yesterday was his birthday. The entire Congress got up and sang him happy birthday. Okay, think about that guy's life. Think about this. You grow up in Europe in a time of Nazi oppression. You are sent to a death camp, a concentration camp. You are liberated by American troops. And then you end up in Congress 60, 70 years later after having survived a shooting by a white supremacist. And the entire Congress, the elected officials of the United States, sing you happy birthday. What an amazing country this is. Well, this is clip 10. Here is President Trump talking about Judah Samet.
Tonight, we are also joined by Pittsburgh survivor, Judah Samet. He arrived at the synagogue as the massacre began. But not only did Judah narrowly escape death last fall, more than 7 decades ago, he narrowly survived the Nazi concentration camps. Today is Judah's 81st birthday.
There's Trump conducting. I mean, that is a great moment. That's a great moment. And this is an amazing country. And that was really the theme of Trump's speech, that, again, embrace greatness. This is a great country. The people who came before us are great. It's that latter point that Democrats refuse to acknowledge. The people who came before us had greatness in ways that we don't have, and we stand on their shoulders. That's what makes the country great. A little bit of gratitude would go a long way, but Democrats can't acknowledge their American privilege. Check your privilege, Democrats. Acknowledge your American privilege. In a second, I want to get to the low points from President Trump's speech, because there's a lot of great stuff and there's a little bit of bad stuff, so we'll get to the bad stuff. We will also get to Stacey Abrams' response and the execrable media response, which is just egregious, as you would expect. But first, let's talk about Sherry's Berries. Okay, Valentine's Day this year, I've already talked to you about some gifts you can get. I will tell you something that will astonish her. Okay, I know this because I just did this for my wife. It's unbelievable. So Sherry's Berries is incredible. They have kosher products. I brought some of those kosher products home. My wife and my kids plowed through that stuff like, wow. And it is delicious. Okay, I'm telling you, this is some of the best dessert you have ever had in your life. You'll never go wrong with their signature dipped Valentine's strawberries, dipped in milk, dark, or white chocolatey goodness for any discerning palate. She will fall in love with every bite, topped with decadent toppings, chocolate chips, hearts, glitter sparkles, always fresh, always tasty, and they have other stuff too. Their kosher stuff, it's like cookies covered in chocolatey goodness, and they've got caramels covered in chocolate. I mean, it's just this stuff is unreal. It's some of the best dessert you will ever have. I am not just saying this because they're an advertiser on the program. Legitimately, we went over to somebody's house on Shabbat, and we didn't know what to bring them for a gift. And my wife, after having had Sherry's Berries, she's like, there's only one gift we can bring. It's Sherry's Berries. Their Valentines arrive fresh with a 100% Sherry's Berries guarantee. Ship anywhere nationally, giving something sweet to your long-distance love. Right now, they're giving you the Valentine's Day gift of your dreams, starting at $19.99 plus shipping and handling. So it's great. Not only are you getting amazing, amazing chocolatey goodness, you are also not spending a ton of money. So two of my favorite things, great gifts for not a huge price. Right now, order and you get double the berries for just $10 more. Go to berries.com, click on the microphone, enter my code BENSHOW at checkout. That is berries.com, BERRIES.com. Click the microphone and enter promo code BENSHOW. Order today. You're not going to regret it. Stuff's unreal. It's so good. Okay, so we're going to get to the rest of President Trump's speech, Stacey Abrams' response. You're going to need to go over to dailywire.com and subscribe right now for the rest of that live. So last night we had a State of the Union coverage party. We had lots of people watching. Only subscribers could ask the questions. We have 2 additional hours of me every day. You're only going to be able to get on demand without commercials when you become a subscriber. So what are you waiting for? You need to go subscribe right now for $9.99 a month over at dailywire.com. When you spend $99 a year, you also get this, the very greatest in beverage vessels. Cast your eyes upon it. The leftist tears, hot or cold tumbler. Magnificent. Go check that out right now. Also subscribe at YouTube or iTunes. We have a Sunday special coming out every week. All sorts of wonderful things just for you. Become a subscriber. It helps support us and make sure that we can say what we want to say and when we need to say it. Go check us out right now at dailywire.com. We are the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast and radio show in the nation.